It's just me today. If you follow me on Twitter, then you know this. Dani has the fortune of actually being at not Dynasty, but she's gonna be at Dynasty too. But she's at Dynamite tonight, which means that she won't be doing this show. So I'm riding solo for this episode. So don't expect for it to be particularly long, but it would be nice if you all could make sure to join in the chat, show some love, so I'm not here completely by myself. So would love to hear from all of you. A lot of fun stuff happened tonight. Dani has a little bit of news. I'm gonna text her right now and ask her if it's okay to share it. But anyway, so let's go ahead and let's get into Dynamite. So we kicked off the show with something that made me particularly happy, and it was my ace, my IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley, kicked off the show. It has been a very long time since he's kicked off a Dynamite, and I don't think that I realized how much that I missed him. Obviously, this past week I was at Windy City Riot, and I was actually there to watch him win the championship. Dani was actually there with me, and so we got to actually attend Windy City Riot in Chicago. But what a moment that was! It was a very special show. And I was super excited that he finally came back on AEW. The promo that he cut was so passionate. It was so Mox about being ace of the world and doing exactly what the fuck you want when you want. And one thing that I appreciate is that he talks about elevating young talent. And so next week on Dynamite is going to be in Jacksonville, in Daly's Place, obviously, essentially home base for AEW. And it is going to be Jon Moxley versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which I feel is a very full circle story. Obviously, Jon Moxley was a part of introducing Hobbs, to AEW about 4 years ago. And it happened in Daly's Place. So this is a super full circle moment. So I'm really glad that he's using this time, to not just elevate the talent in New Japan when clearly it looks like Ren Narita, Shota Umino are all going to get a chance at that boat, but obviously young talent over in AEW is going to be elevated as well, which is great. That's why he's my ace. He's my fave, and super exciting. And next we went directly into a promo from the CEO, Mercedes Moné, and she looked amazing. She finally said on screen that she is not cleared yet. Well, probably they should have said that a little bit earlier, but that's neither here nor there. Listen, people are talking about Mercedes needs to wrestle. Guess what? She's not cleared. So what are we gonna do? And some people are gonna say that, oh, well, if she wasn't clear, why did they roll her out? Guess what? She's been on AEW payroll since January. And if you are paying somebody millions of dollars, letting them just sit at home and just paying them for what? That would be 5 months. Just letting them sit at home. That's kind of crazy. I mean, I know the billionaire likes to spend money like crazy, but that's kind of insane. I can understand. Listen, I'm not saying it's a perfect solution. And I also think that they should have said something ahead of time. I think that they should have said something ahead of time. They could have probably done the injury angle of her getting attacked a lot earlier, and save some times. I don't think. Listen, if you have I'm confident TK would put her debut in Vegas anyway. I don't think so. And the reason why is because they were teasing before she even debuted for Serena Deeb to be her first opponent. You know, I don't think that that was going to be the that I think it was very clear that they were expecting her to wrestle. I think that they were expecting her to wrestle flat out. I don't think that the plan originally was for her to wait until Vegas. I don't think, but you know, when you, like I said, if you're paying that much for a talent, you don't want to risk her getting injured by any means. And so, yeah, I don't think that Vegas was the original plan. But like I said, what do I know? Anyway, Mercedes cuts a promo. She says she's going to find out whoever attacked her. She's going to find out whoever did it because there's a price to pay with Mercedes Moné. When you mess with Mercedes Moné, and she says she's going to be watching very closely. So I expect her to be at Dynasty, some shape, form, or fashion around that TBS title match. Of course, after that, we go directly into the mixed tag team match. So we had Copeland come out first, Metalingus, woo! And then we immediately hear Willa Nightingale's music, and then it cuts to the back, and she's just gotten laid out backstage. Stokely and Chris are like, oh my gosh, what's happened to you? All of that jazz. And after that, it's then Cope gets attacked from behind by Brody King, and Julia's there. So it ends up being honestly mostly a singles match throughout of it. You know, for most of this match, and a lot of that is because Julia is clearly injured. They didn't want her to take any bumps, which she essentially didn't. And so I don't expect it to be a very long match. Expect kind of what happened when Double or Nothing last year, when Jamie Hayter, the title had to be taken off of her because of an injury. So as far as like, you know, the type of match, like do not I know a lot of times people get upset, and myself included, about women's match times, especially on pay-per-views, but go ahead and prepare yourself now. Willow and Julia will be short. Willow versus Julia at Dynasty will be short, and it is because Julia is injured. So if it's a 5-minute match or less, let's just please, like, let's save the criticisms of like, oh my gosh, the women were cut short. No, Julia is injured. So just go ahead and put it in out there now. Julia is injured. Do not expect a long match. Okay? Just throwing that out there. And so I'm excited. And honestly, because she's injured, obviously over in Collision, it's been teased for Yuka Sakazaki and Serena Deeb to have something going on. So I hope that means that they're going to get more time. Hopefully at Dynasty, I hope that means that their match gets more time. I'm not sure if it's going to be on 0 Hour or the main card. Somebody says even if at some of the same time, you have some of us that think her debut has been missed. Tony Khan looks stupid so far. I disagree. Like, I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is, look at this. Mercedes, don't get me wrong, she's transcendent as a wrestler, but the mere thought of her debut, that she was coming, made AEW transform the division. And we have seen so much progress that even if we haven't seen her wrestle, when I look at the amount of screen time that other women have gotten, the amount of extra screen time, the amount of extra in-ring time, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that like her debut has been worthless so far, because clearly it's meant something. Because if you look at this AEW women's division today compared to where they were this time last year, it's literally night and day. And so I digress. I don't think that it's a miss. I don't think that anybody looks stupid I think a lot of people came into this like, how do I say it? I think a lot of people came into all of this wanting her to fail. And so everybody's now like, oh, look, she's a loser, blah, 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 blah. But I don't, listen, Mercedes is not a promo person. She's not on the mic person. I do think what she did tonight was probably the best that we've heard her. probably. It was straight to the point. She's not a promo person. However, I think that it's going to be fine. I don't know. Riddle me this. Especially when, let's just be real. When you look over at other companies, champions, top talent, they go weeks at a time without actually wrestling, just talking all the time. Like, obviously it's supposed to be different in a place like AEW. It's supposed to be in-ring focused. But I do think that after Dynasty, once it's very clear cut, her versus Willow, and we have a match that we're building towards, I think it's going to be a lot better. And I think that what was I going to say? I think that what's part of the frustration that has happened, I think, since Big Business is that we haven't been building towards anything. Like, she's just coming out, doing these segments. She's just doing this commentary, but we're not actually building towards anything. And so I do think that after Dynasty, it's going to be 10 times better when we're actually building towards a legitimate match. Like, I think that obviously there's going to be a lot to do there. You're going to have your contract signing, which I do think is going to be great. Mercedes has been known to not miss in a contract signing. And so that's going to be pretty good. And so now that we have some direction exactly on what she's going to be able to do, I think that is going to be 10 times better. So I'm excited as far as that. Like we said, eventually Willow comes out in the middle of the match, and then she starts beating up on Brody King, and that was actually freaking awesome. I'm not even going to lie to you. That was awesome. And then she starts barking. Obviously, somebody says, is there another match they can add to the card? I wish they had waited to do Mariah versus Deonna at Dynasty. I don't, personally. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think that matches, because, how do I say it? Deonna feels like a side character in this story anyway. Like, everything that's going on, she feels like very much so a side character. I think that she's a good wrestler. She hasn't 100% clicked for me. Exactly, Deonna. And so I'm going to be honest, that's not a match that I would love to see. I would have rather possibly maybe bring in a Stardom talent or something, but that's not going to happen, especially because they have their own stuff going on right now and getting ready for All-Star Grand Queendom, and everybody's essentially going back to Japan. And so that's understandable. And I guess, like I said, I would personally much rather Yuka versus Serena Deeb. Two bona fide hoopers, two bona fide hoopers. I wonder if Deonna just signed at a bad time. I agree. Had she signed, let's say, this time last year, I think we'd be having a completely different conversation. But signing smack dab in the middle of Mariah May's debut and, Mariah May's debut, and she's been killing it. Toni Storm being pushed to the forefront of the division, as well as Mercedes' debut. And then you finally have, the working relationship with Stardom. It kind of feels awkward for Deonna just because she has a style that isn't particularly eye-catching if you're not into technical wrestling, which a lot of people aren't. And I think a lot of other women, somebody said Queen Aminata is killing it too. Absolutely. Red Velvet came back from injury looking amazing. And then you have, it looks like Athena is somewhat back into the mix with the actual AEW women's division. And so it's hard. It's kind of hard to see where Deonna goes from here. But it's interesting. Do you think we'll see more women's matches once Mercedes is cleared? I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure. I of course I would love to. I'm not sure. But I do think that probably around Forbidden Door time, we will see a much bigger emphasis on the women's division. I do believe that. I do believe that around Forbidden Door time, we will see a much bigger emphasis. And I will say, what it seems like is that once Mercedes is cleared, and I remember that I saw a report about this, it says that she gets her own segments / matches, and then there will be something for the rest of the division. So I do believe that once she starts wrestling regularly, there will be potential for 2 women's matches on the card, whatever she's a part of, and then whatever for some other storyline in the division. Hopefully it starts like that, and maybe it continues to grow. But I do think, and it seems to have been that same, at least a similar formula since she's debuted, of having of how things are focused on Dynamite, having this huge dedicated women's segment that she's in, and then having something devoted to another storyline, like anywhere between 2 to 3 major segments. So just like even tonight, the mixed tag was, obviously dedicated to the TBS title picture, and the women's singles match was obviously dedicated to the women's world title picture. So I think that we're already starting to see where a lot of the balance in the division, at least on Dynamite specifically, is going to come from. But yes, Willow ends up losing because Julia Hart hits her in the head with a chain. Then Mercedes comes out. Where's Britt Baker? That's also going to add to the division when she's back. Listen, I'm going to be honest. The Dentist is a great talker. From an in-ring perspective, I admittedly am not sure where she fits. I'm not a huge fan of her in-ring work. And so I can't say that I particularly like being, oh my gosh, where's Britt Baker? But I do know that a lot of people have. And I do understand she's an AEW original. And she's she was the original face of the division. But when Britt Baker comes back, for me personally, she has a lot to show me. Because this is not the same division that she left. Everybody is hooping. Everybody is hooping and shooting on all cylinders. Everybody is hooping. Even the girls who are, eat the pins, like the Anna Jays and the Red Velvets, even they have stepped their game up immensely. So, I'm going to be honest. Britt Baker's best work has been with Thunder Rosa in that match that she had on Collision with Chris Statlander. Outside of that, ring-wise, I haven't been particularly enthused. So, there's that. Obviously, like I said, Mercedes ends up coming out. She swings the chair, but doesn't actually hit anybody. She shakes hands with Adam Copeland, which popped me into affinity because these are 2 of my all-time favorite wrestlers. So yeah, that's the TBS title picture. I'm interested to see where Mercedes is slotted in. I don't know. Maybe she'll just be ringside. Maybe she'll be like a special guest enforcer or something like that. Who knows? But I do think that she'll be involved in some way. Up next, we had a segment. Do you think Britt would return alongside Jamie? I don't think she should. I think that they should be very separate acts, unless the possibility of them going after Saraya. I'll be honest, that feels very old AEW. Britt and Jamie versus Saraya. But times have changed. Saraya is now a Rampage act. Let's just be real. Saraya is now a Rampage act. Jamie Hayter is probably, alongside Kenny Omega, a top 2 most anticipated return in AEW, regardless of gender. And Britt is Britt. I think that everybody should be kept extremely separate. When Jamie Hayter returns, she is essentially a top shelf talent. She is a top shelf talent. Yes, Britt was injured. Jamie Hayter is a top shelf talent, which means that she needs to be in the rivalries with the Mercedeses, the Athenas, honestly, the first person that she should feud with is Toni Storm. It makes sense. that's in kayfabe who injured her and like, you know, who took her out and took her title. You know, I want to see Jamie Hayter versus Mariah May. Like, that's the thing. The division has evolved too much to go backwards. You know, Britt and Jamie don't need to team together ever again. You know, I don't foresee Jamie ever going to WWE, to be quite honest. But I don't, just for what she brings to the table and like for the type of wrestler that she is, it just, I don't see where she would ever fit going there. But, you know, what do I know? And also, like, the thing is, I think it was a shoulder injury that Jamie had. But yeah, AEW is such a better fit for Jamie. And I think that the way that the fans have embraced her, and also, like, let's just be real, before she got injured, the women's division was going in a really great direction. They were getting more time. She was getting big matches. She was seen as the person, you know, she was the fan favorite. Like, the fans literally cheered her into a prominent position. And so, yeah, Mercedes could 100% get a good match out of Britt, but it's more so of like, how do I say it? She could get a good match out of Britt, but the division is now at the point to where there's so much talent to where you don't have to just, you don't need to be carrying anybody. How do I say this? Especially when there's so many other girls that you can just hoop with easily. Like, you know, like, there's so many girls on that roster that you can just hoop with outright, that you don't have to carry, that you don't have to, like, you know, pull teeth to get something out of. And I think that's the difference right now. It's like, it's not, can somebody get a good match out of you? It's just, it's about work rate at this point. What can you do on a weekly, consistent basis with any opponent? That's what separates the good from the great. You know, good wrestlers have good matches occasionally. Great wrestlers can have great matches with anybody on any night of the week, on any time. So I digress. Moving on, though, then we had the EVPs and we had Okada. This was really funny. This was really funny to me, but we had them in a segment and they were showing a video package, and then they stopped it and said, you know what, actually, this is getting, we're going to cut this. I laughed. The EVPs and Okada, and then like Tony Khan in the corner, like, it was so funny. I don't know. It was so funny. And then we go into the actual trios match. I don't know who watches New Japan and who doesn't. However, well, Saraya's just been doing the Saraya's been in a Rampage feud doing her thing with Ruby. So honestly, I just want her to stay there. That's really what I want. I just want her to stay there. That's what I want out of her. Well, we had our trios match. I don't know how many of you watched New Japan, but Okada has this thing where he loves beating up on 20-something-year-old boys. And Daniel Garcia went into this match saying that, you know, you're not going to get me like you got the others. And that's exactly what happened. This trios match was so refreshing. I loved it. Obviously, the Bucks have incredible chemistry with, you know, Pac and Penta. 2/3 of Death Triangle have wrestled them a million times. And then, you know, Daniel Garcia was great added to the mix. It was awesome. I loved this. Matthew Jackson picking up a microphone and commentating his own match was absolutely insane. It was head ass. I loved every single second of it. And even like him begging, like, please, stop. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I think that the Bucks this might be the best version of their character ever. They seem, I think, for a while last year, and this is coming from a huge Elite fan, huge Bucks fan. Last year, they kind of felt very uninspired. Like, they really didn't care. Like, that's why when Matthew Jackson said that he was contemplating retirement, I believed him, because yes, like, they're good wrestlers, but you can tell like their heart wasn't in it. But like, they actually look like they're having fun again, and they seem to be super invested in what they're doing. And I think that everybody benefits from it. Kazuchika Okada has adjusted to TV wrestling so well to where it feels like he's been here for a very long time. I'm very excited for this match with Pac. It doesn't feel real. Like, none of this feels real. None of this feels real whatsoever. But as a fan, I am super excited to witness the greatness that they're cooking for Dynasty. I just can't wait. Obviously, Okada gets the pin here after the double super kick to Daniel Garcia into the Rainmaker, a very thunderous Rainmaker. So that happened. And it was announced that next week on Collision will be, not next week on Collision, this Saturday on Collision will be the Elite versus FTR and Daniel Garcia. So that's going to be building for, obviously, Dynasty this week. And afterwards, what else happened after that? Oh, after that, we had a hook we had the Hook Jericho stuff. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I had a few people in my comments trying to mansplain it to me. Well, this is the story. I know the story. I know what the storyline is. I just don't care. I don't like it. And listen, just because I understand what's going on doesn't mean I have to like it. Okay? And people are like, well, they were cheering Hook. No shit, Sherlock. You don't say. You don't say. Yes. Because when you hate one person in the ring, it automatically makes the other one 10 times more popular. And I guarantee you they would have liked Hook even more if he was doing something meaningful. Jericho came off as begging. Like, come on, man. Like, that's why they've switched to this Lionheart stuff, because guess what? Judas 1 takes too long, and the fans aren't into it anymore. They're just not. And, like, it's just like, and people are just like, well, and here's the thing. One thing about me, and if you've listened to the show and watched the show, you know, I love old man graps. I love my 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds on random episodes of Dynamite and Collision. That's my shit. I think that older wrestlers have so much value. However, when you become the guy that the fans don't want to see and that the young guys in the back feel like it's a downgrade to work with, it's time for some self-reflection. And that's just the truth. It's not even like I'm not anti-vets. In fact, like, you know, I'm huge on vets. But this doesn't work. And I grew up as a huge Chris Jericho fan. Gigantic Chris Jericho fan. One of my all-time favorites growing up. Truly. But this is not his best work by a landslide. And it's kind of embarrassing to his legacy. And that's just real. And that's just real. It's not even about being nosy, like, oh, well, you just hate Jericho. No, it just doesn't fit. And I think especially when on a Dynamite episode that was so good, everybody is firing on all cylinders. The wrestling is good. The women are good. The tag division is good. The men's single division is good. Everybody's doing good. Hopefully that it looks like the trios division is about to get back on track. Everybody's growing and evolving and getting back on track, except this one segment. And a lot of things here, and this is also a frustration of mine. A lot of the stuff with AEW can't be avoided as far as ratings and stuff, right? We know that television has left, you know, like a lot of households have cut cable. We know that a lot of things like have shifted. And I feel like a lot of the problems that they face are not their fault. However, this one thing, if you know that you have a segment, if you know you have a feud, a performer that is regularly tanking your quarter hours every single week, continuously, no matter where you slot them and who you slot them with, but you continue to keep putting them on the board, do not complain when you get those ratings back every week. At this point, that part's on you. Like that part is on you because it could be avoided. And I will say, as a veteran, I just wish that Chris Jericho could kind of like, how do I say it? Could understand that maybe he could be used in different ways, because Chris Jericho, kind of like what I was saying about Mercedes earlier, right? Chris Jericho probably has if not the fattest contracts in AEW. He's probably one of the most expensive people on the roster, to be quite honest. So, it's like it's cheaper to keep him than to let him go. I get that part. However, there has to be a better way to use him. When he was doing commentary, I didn't hate it. I think that he did great on commentary on Rampage. I think that, there's better uses for the guy, at least temporarily. Like, not saying it's forever. Sit him down for a while and then put him on, give him a retirement tour like Sting had, like something like that. Jericho has been all around the world. He can have truly one of the biggest, most extravagant, extraordinary retirement tours in wrestling history, to be quite honest. And like, despite how you feel about him, like, Chris Jericho retirement tour is money that you can stretch across the U.S., through Mexico, through Japan, sending him around. I get it. That's money down the line, 100%. However, if they stay on this path that they are now of just forcing it, you are taking more and more value off of that eventual retirement tour, of people actually wanting to see it, of wanting to like participate in it. Like, you're taking more and more off of that. And also the same thing about like him continuously bringing out. I love popping out with some of your old gimmicks every now and then, but the way that he's pulled out, like, Painmaker and Lionheart and all these things, the Corazon de Leon, over and over again, you've kind of killed it. So by the time you go back to CMLL, to Arena Mexico, for that last time, and you say Lionheart, people are going to be like, oh. By the time you go back to the Tokyo Dome and you want to be Painmaker one more time, people are going to be like, oh. You never want to get like that, because it's all about like I said, it's the value add. Obviously, the end is in sight, and you're devaluing the future right now. If Jericho just sat down for anywhere between 6 to 8 months to a year, put him on commentary, and then have, a talent, like, goad him into, like, one last big top tier feud, that's money. So this time, by All In, the next year for All In, oh my gosh, it could be this huge, amazing thing, right? But we're never going to get there if we just keep wasting time like this. And we're wasting time. And it's just, now it's to the point where the fans, myself included, just don't want to see you at all. And at this point, I don't care about the future. Said all that to say, this segment was what it was. I'm really upset that this match is on the main card. I had hoped that it was going to be on 0 Hour. Clearly not. So there's that. Then we had the women's match. We ended up having Deonna Purrazzo versus Mariah May. I felt like this match was really good. Mariah May, I would just like to say, as somebody who was a day one Mariah May truther, I feel vindicated. I feel I'm a winner. I told y'all she was going to be the next big thing. I told y'all she was going to be her. I told you she was everything in a bag of chips. I told y'all that she was going to be one of the investments, the young investments in that women's division that made AEW look like geniuses for hiring her at what, 25? Jamie Hayter was one of those people too, of like, That's where you go. Yeah, those Stardom foreigners. Yes, but Mariah is special. She just gets it. And this was a good match. Obviously, at the end, Mariah gets pinned via a sunset flip roll up by Deanna. Tony comes out, they start beating on her, and then Thunder Rosa comes out. I'm gonna be honest, I want Thunder Rosa to win. I will say also, though, from an in-ring perspective, none of those three wow me right now. Between Deanna, Toni Storm, and Thunder Rosa, none of them particularly wow me. Thunder Rosa is still finding her footing post-injury. And I think, but she's been showing steady improvement. Deanna, I'm not sure her style has quite clicked in AEW. And Toni has been very hit or miss with this timeless character. However, on Collision, that match with Izumi was the best I've ever seen her. And if she can put that in a bottle, if she can put that Collision match in a bottle and give that to us for Dynasty, listen, I will be 10 times higher on Toni, because I'm gonna be honest, I love her character. I love her segments. I think she's hilarious. I think she enthuses me. She makes me laugh. She's incredible. The only problem I have with her is that when that bell rings, and it's only started with this timeless character, because before this, Toni Storm was one of my favorite women's wrestlers. I love Toni. I think that's why I get so frustrated with her, because of how much I love Toni, and I know what she's capable of. And so that Collision match in this past week was a great sign in the right direction. So I hope that she is going to stick with that, and I will be much higher on her. But Thunder Rosa should win. And if she doesn't win, I better hear Jamie Hayter music hit. Because I'm going to be honest, it's well overdue for her to come back. So if Thunder Rosa does not win, and even if Thunder Rosa does win, I really hope, because I've heard there's going to be some surprises for Dynasty, but I really hope, because we haven't heard anything, I really, really, really hope that we hear Jamie Hayter's music hit. Or even, I'm gonna be honest, or even Britt Baker's. Somebody, because at the end of the day, at this point, this world title picture needs some new blood. We need some new life. Like, we need some new life in this women's title picture. Like, because I don't think that Mariah is going to be considered like a women's title contender until, like, her and Toni turn on each other. Somebody said, how do you feel the Mariah Toni Mina story will turn out? I don't know. I'm interested. I think that it's going to be a pin in it until Forbidden Door, unless, however, on the Stardom end, All-Star Grand Queendom is their big show. It's happening on the 27th of April. So there are currently, so that's their big show. That was the match. That was the show that Mercedes actually lost the IWGP Women's Championship at Mayu Iwatani last year. Now, there's a lot that could happen. This is also the show where they bring in a lot of outsiders. So, for example, Mayu Iwatani is defending the IWGP Women's Championship versus Sari. And what else is happening? Like, Aja Kong is coming in. And there's a couple different things. So God's Eye, which is Suri, Ami Sori, and now Konami, they're hosting an open invitational for All-Star Grand Queendom. And so that means that they have opponents. It'll be 3 people. We still don't know that yet. And so I think I tweeted this, but I'm interested to see if somebody from the AEW Ring of Honor world is potentially a part of that show. And then also, people who don't have matches yet for Stardom is Mina Shirakawa and both Inazumi have both not been booked yet for All-Star Grand Queendom, which makes me think maybe they do a little bit of character advancement, and like maybe they do some storyline advancement and send some of these girls off to Stardom, because it's a perfect timing. Like it's like a week after Dynasty, so before you really have to jump really head over heels into double or nothing prep, it would be cool. You send them off to Japan for to do that one date, build that bridge, because I feel like the bridge is still being built with Stardom. So there's that. Yes, there is a 3 stages of hell match for the World Stardom Championship. Maika versus Momo Watanabe. So yeah, that could be a potential thing. But if that doesn't happen, I fully expect we probably won't see a lot of movement on the Mariah Tony Mina story until we get closer to Forbidden Door, which I'm also not, like I said, I'm not against, as long as we have something to sink our teeth into before then. And I think we need returns. That means we're going to need some returns. Like we need like 1 or 2 stars to come back and like shake some things up in the meantime. When do you think we'll see Megan Bayne appear in AEW? I'm not sure. Dynasty could work. But, she could be a great heater for Mercedes. Who knows? Megan Bayne is very interesting because she's very versatile. She's a killer. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of different places that you could put her. I would probably pair her with Mercedes though right now, especially since Mercedes can't wrestle right now. Megan Bayne would be perfect, in my personal opinion. I don't think Megan Bayne wouldn't be the one who attacked Mercedes, in my opinion. I don't think she would be the one who attacked her. It wouldn't make sense for a stranger to attack her, because it'd be like, why were you backstage in the first place? Logistically, I don't think that will work for somebody that we don't know, because we won't find, like, so if she got attacked last week, we won't find out until like 3 weeks later that she got attacked by somebody who we didn't even know was backstage, and most people didn't even know that even worked there in the first place. Like, it doesn't really, for a whodunit, it makes it very complicated, in my opinion. I digress. After that, we ended up having, after the women's match, we ended up having Shane Taylor versus Orange Cassidy. I would like to say that I have really liked that there has been a much larger influx and focus on Black talent in 2024 across all 4 AEW shows. Some people might feel some type of way about it. I'm just going ahead and say it. Like, there's been a lot between like the tag division, Top Flight. You have Private Party coming back. You've had the Infantry coming back in the women's division. People being featured: Queen Aminata, Red Velvet, Trisha Dora, Athena, Mercedes, Willow Nightingale. There's been a lot of people. Obviously, Swerve. Look over at Ring of Honor. Lee Johnson, Lee Moriarty. Shane Taylor. There's been Anthony Ogogo is coming back. There's been a huge more emphasis on, I feel like Black talent. And so I've really enjoyed this of regularly seeing Shane Taylor promotions on screen and working with some top level talent. Obviously faced Orange Cassidy here. I would like to say, Trent Beretta, you broke up my happy home. And I'm not sure I can forgive you for that. It just, I don't even think it really hit me until he comes out and like he just watched Orange get jumped. It really hits me deep. It really hits me deep. It's like, wow, you really broke up my family. Oh my gosh, Ruby Soho is pregnant. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Okay, so that's why so that's why her and Saraya haven't had the actual match yet. That makes sense. Oh my gosh, that's so great. That makes me think also, when is Ty Mello coming back? Because I know she said that she was looking forward to getting back in the ring. I think that she's a person who could really benefit from potentially going on excursion as well. But I think with a newborn, that could be like really hard. But congratulations to Ruby and Angelo Parker. That's so nice. Oh my gosh, that is so nice. But yes, thank you, Trent Beretta, for ruining my happy home. And then we had a backstage segment talking about Roddy versus Kyle. Oh, I forgot. There were two different segments about the trios division. So there was first Bullet Club Gold. The Bang Bang Gang had a great segment with Renee essentially saying that they want to put the titles on the line up against the Acclaim, winner take all. So essentially it looks like the titles are going to be unified. Also, it was nice to see Jay White do what Jay White does, which is be great on the mic. I really enjoyed Bullet Club Gold on their own outside of that Bang Bang Scissor Gang bullshit. I think that they really, really, really could benefit from Juice Robinson coming back, and hopefully he's coming back soon. Then the Acclaimed had their segment. I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't even really have a problem with like Billy Gunn, and I love Anthony Bowen. I'm just so turned off of Max Caster. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan, and it kind of sucks because I used to be a huge, gigantic The Acclaimed fan, and it really sucks that I feel like this, but I just really am hoping that the titles getting taken off of them, and obviously, well, no, I'll say that for the end. And then what else happened? We ended up having Ospreay versus Claudio. Listen, this right here, real music. Two freak athletes. That's it. Like, you know, Claudio has always been one of those wrestlers. It's just like, how does he do that? He's this crazy transcendent athlete, and Will Ospreay is the exact same thing. And I tweeted this. If somebody told you this time 2 years ago that we would see Ospreay versus Claudio Castagnoli on national television in a main event, who would believe? How did you feel about the camera work during that match? I didn't feel any particular way. Maybe I missed something. Did something like that happen? Did I miss something? I don't know. I think I was just so locked in and like so enthused about a match. I was just having a good time. I was having a great time. Like I said, what a time to be alive, man. That was special. Damn, when the Claudio started swinging him, and then Will Ospreay had the cord shrink to reverse it to a DDT. Oh my God. This is real music. This is real music. It should mean something to me. Oh yeah, well, yeah, it must have worked because I was about to say like nothing negative. I was having a great time, so like yeah, whatever they did clearly worked. As far as camera work, I was super locked in. Ospreay obviously gets the win here. Shout out to Claudio. I love Claudio Castagnoli. You know, I felt like I liked him in WWE, but I never felt like I could really sink my teeth into him because I always felt like he was always like missed potential. Like I could never really, like I said, sink my teeth in. And ever since Forbidden Door 2022, when he debuted, this reign has been everything I've wanted and more. I felt like he's done the best mic work of his career. He's done the best. He's done the best mic work of his career. He had some of the best matches of his career. He just feels incredible. Like, he just feels amazing. Like, everything that he does is incredible. And Will Ospreay is just unreal. It does, like, I'm gonna be honest, it feels like Claudio, some guys I feel like have come to AEW, and sometimes I think that this is probably the sign of whether or not they'll be successful. There's some people who jump into AEW and they immediately feel like, oh, they just jumped ship. And then there's some guys who come and it feels like, oh, you sure they haven't been there since for like the first day of the company? Claudio's one of those people who feels like they've been there forever. Bryan Danielson's one of those people who feel like they've been there forever. Ospreay is like one of those people who feels like they've been there forever. Like, you know, even Okada, it feels like you can tell the guys who genuinely want to be there. And I'm gonna be honest, and I think that that's what upsets people sometimes. You can tell people who are genuinely here for a check, and you could tell guys who genuinely want to be there, like who genuinely want to be there, who they feel like they're just having the best time in their career and they're having fun. Claudio's one of those people, man. And the stuff that he's still capable of, and I think one time I Googled his age, he's what, 43? Unreal. He looks younger now than he ever has. He's in the best shape of his life. Oh my gosh. I love Claudio Castagnoli. And I think, like, sometimes in the BCC, you know, when you're surrounded by guys like Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, it's easy to like fade into the background. But every time that Claudio gets to really cook as a singles competitor, we're reminded that, oh my God, he's him. He's really him. Like, I'm still, like, one of my favorite matches of the Continental Classic to this day is Bryan versus Claudio. Like, because I will say very few people can go technical band for band with Bryan Danielson, but Claudio can. And like, I remember when I originally like did my brackets, I remember putting that match in as a draw and ended up being a draw. But man, Claudio is like insane. He's literally insane. And I struggle to believe that Moxley was in WWE before. Me too. Listen, me too. And it's so funny. Like, when people call him Dean Ambrose, I said, you sick fuck. Like, to this day, like, it's just like, no, nothing about this feels the same. None of these people feel the same. And I think, like, that's the difference. I love when people go to different promotions and, like, they stay themselves but still feel different. And I feel like that's been cool too. Where the wrestlers wrestle. Listen, I like the tag name "We're the Best Wrestle" because I feel it's true. I feel like it's true. Wrestle, not talk, but like the best wrestle. It's kind of true. Like, and I think that's the difference of, you know, some promotions would be lucky to have one A-tier wrestler. AEW has anywhere between 5 to 6 S-tier wrestlers plus a full string of A-tier wrestlers, several B-plus players. That's insane. Like, insane. Insane. It's insane. Now, 10 S-tier wrestlers, no, I'm not going to say that. S-tier for me is like, obviously the 4. So Okada, Ospreay, Danielson, Omega, Moxley. Who else? I would say maybe those 5 for the men, and then for the women, I would say that as far as S-tier, Athena, Mercedes, Hayter, Sheeta. Now the Bucks and Hangman, I agree. Bucks and Hangman, I do agree, are S tier, 100%. And who else? Tag team wise, I'd say I put when Motor City Machine Guns come in, I would say so. Yeah, Athena is 100% S tier. Mercedes is as well. Jamie Hayter is. Trying to think. And like, several people are A tier too. Like I think Adam Cole is an A tier wrestler. I think that MJF is a A tier wrestler. Some people will put him at S, but I put him at an A. I do think he can grow into an S tier wrestler, 100%. And I think that Hangman honestly became an S tier wrestler. He became an S tier wrestler truly in the Swerve feud, in my opinion. Darby for me is not an S tier wrestler yet, just because he hasn't had like that singles main event feud yet. He's so dependable though. I think that's the thing that I feel like Darby is the closest probably out of any of the pillars, because for me, S tier isn't as much about talent, because I think a lot of people have talent, but it's about consistency. And Okada, Ospreay, Mox, Danielson, Omega, Bucks, consistent has been consistent excellence. Like, and that's why I don't like FTR, but I would put them, they're between an A and an S for me, just because like FTR can't have a great match with anybody. But when they do have a great match with somebody, it's otherworldly. Like their classics are classics. And I can admit this, and I don't even like them like that. But the Briscoes trilogy, classics. Some of their matches with the Bucks, classics. The match that they had with, Aussie Open, classic. I'll be honest about that. Christian Cage, you know what? 2 years ago, if you said that Christian Cage was S tier, I'd be like, nah. But now I can agree. 100%, I can agree. And same thing with Aminata. I believe that Queen Aminata will be an S tier wrestler within the next few years. 100%. Like same thing, like you can tell there's definitely some people on their way. Pac, is he S tier? Ask me after the Okada match. I think so you can tell like who's going to be that future, right? Like I think Kyle Fletcher, 100% going to be an S tier wrestler one day. Easily. Konosuke Takeshita, 100%. Orange Cassidy for me is A tier. And let me tell you why. And I think that he could be S tier. He hasn't had that sustained singles excellence yet. I need to see sustained singles excellence, because especially after the way that the ball was dropped after the international title reign, I felt like we were going there. We were heading there, but we weren't there. Hangman is 100% there for me. And another person who I feel like is getting there and will be there soon. And let's get into it, which is the main event. Well, not the main event, but the closing segment, which was Swerve versus Joe. So these two both had their own segments earlier in the night with Renee essentially talking about the match, and they were both really good. But I tweeted this before the show, and I'm really glad that it happened. And I think that in the hoopla of last week and everything, the world title kind of got lost in translation, right? And with the story they've been telling with Swerve and what they've been building with Swerve over the last 2 years, it's important that Swerve has been groomed into a world champion. He is probably he's the third guy that AEW has ever grown, has ever groomed into a world champion. The first was Hangman, the second was MJF, and the third is obviously Swerve. And Swerve obviously had, in my opinion, the hardest way to get there. One, he's black. Two, he didn't come in with the elite, with the stars of the company, right? Like he didn't come in working like the top guys. Swerve kind of worked from the bottom with the Keith Lees and stuff, and he ends up consistently stealing the show, like we saw. And you know, Swerve was one of those people where folks really had to trust the process. And I'm glad that AEW built him up the way that they did. Swerve was a lot like Darby, right? Like being that person who had to go in, have consistent bangers, whether you lose or you win. Can the company trust you to be that guy? To be that guy? Can they trust you? They even sent him off to do Triple Mania one day. Fill in for folks. You know, he's been trusted to go work with the partners and stuff. Like, I think about, you know, even Swerve in Our Glory. Nobody was checking for them at first. They ended up becoming a fantastic tag team. Put the tag belts on them. Think about the match they had with the Acclaim. Stole the show, right? Like, Swerve has had and I wrote about it. I don't know if any of you have read the article, but it's in my link tree. But the meteoric rise of Swerve has been kind of insane when you think about it. And when they put him up against Hangman, he could have easily sunk, or this could have easily been just another feud. I'm not sure anybody was expecting it to become, probably in my opinion, the feud. The feud. And in my opinion, is going to be our signature feud of our generation. If they do this correctly and continue to do Hangman and Swerve correctly over the next few years, I believe that is going to be the signature rivalry, wrestling rivalry of our generation. Now, what other people might say about different other things in sports entertainment, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But when it comes to the true all-timer wrestling rivalries of our generation that we are going to talk about for years and years and years, and we're going to look back 20 years from now and say, you had to be there, Hangman and Swerve is going to be one of them, if not the one. And so he has swam in every position where he could have sank. And so I felt like it was very important to remind people that this is what ultimately what you're tuning into Dynasty to see. And that's hard because, listen, there is a huge card. That's a stacked card. You have Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson on that card. Kind of crazy. Kyle O'Reilly versus Roderick Strong. Kazuchika Okada versus Pat. You have FTR versus the Young Bucks in a ladder match. It's some crazy shit on this card. And so it's important. I feel like it was super important for AEW to remind people that at the end of the day, Swerve's crowning is the most important story in the company. Not just because he's going to be the first Black world champion, but that is part of it. And I'm not going to lie to you. How do I say this? It's going to get really filthy, nasty, ugly, disgusting on the timeline after Sunday. And I hope everybody's prepared. When Willow and Swerve get crowned on the same night, oh my God. Because let's just be real. Let's talk about Willow really quickly. Willow's one of those people. We've watched Willow lose for the TBS championship specifically about 5 times. I remember she challenged Jade, 5 times? About 4 or 5 times? And we watch her lose over and over again. Like, Willow's one of those people that we really grew with. Like, we watched grow, overnight. Even her, quote unquote, accidentally, winning that New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Like, and then, the Owens Hart tournament. And then it feels like, her push got cooled down. Like, I remember the night that Willow got her All Elite graphic, obviously we talked about it in our interview, which is on my YouTube, but these are people, Swerve and Willow specifically. This is the proof that, this is make or break tonight. This is going to be a make or break moment for people to really shut down the noise that AEW can't create stars, can't build stars, especially black stars, to be quite honest. So it's going to get really nasty. Somebody said, what are you going to do when they add Takeshita versus Claudio on 0 hour? Did that happen? Wait, did that happen? Stop. Did that happen, or are you just joking with me? Don't play with me like that. Like, don't play with me like that. Don't play with me like that. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. No, I don't like playing games like that. Don't do that. Okay. But anyway, I'm really glad that they refocused the attention on Swerve and Joe. And I was interested to see what they were going to do to make this feel different. Because obviously, you know, at the end of Ospreay versus Claudio, he starts getting jumped by the Don Callis family. Obviously, Ospreay is really mad about it. And then he storms off. And so maybe this is the beginning of the end of him splitting off from the Don Callis family. And then obviously you had Jon Moxley come out and, like, you know, save it. So, and by then it was already about 10 o'clock. So they started doing like the card rundown, I guess, to clear the stage. And then Swerve comes out. And then he starts saying all this crazy shit. Samoa Joe starts calling him BBL Joey. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Now, why would you say that? That was so messed up. Like, why would you say that? I said, bring your big bitch ass out here. I said, that was rude. But yes, afterwards, that was fun. And that was fun. Then Joe comes out there clearly mad as hell. What did he call him? He called him Sweet Tooth after his character. And so Samoa Joe was obviously scared, surrounded by security. Then Swerve does the craziest shit ever. Jumps on the turnbuckle. I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, okay, there's no way he's gonna make this leap to like wipe out Joe. But it was like the security was formed like almost like a semicircle around Joe. He literally jumps over the security, he lays them all out, lands on his feet like Ricochet style. I said, oh my God. Incredible. Mwah! No bars. Swerve stumped the whole squad. No bars. And then we ended the night with Joe doing a mean, nasty, ugly, disgusting looking muscle buster on Swerve. That's what I wanted to see. That's how you prioritize the world title picture and make it feel like a big deal again. That was awesome. That was awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for wrestling because, like, it doesn't matter what company that you watch right now. It feels like we are in a new era of wrestling, of a lot of titles changing this way, that way, or the third, new faces taking the reins of different companies of pro wrestling in general, both in American wrestling and WWE and AEW, in Japanese wrestling. Like, even tonight, I forgot, like, I can't even go to sleep tonight because tonight's the first night of Champion Carnival over in All Japan. You know, new faces taking the reins in New Japan, new Joshi companies coming to fruition. Looks like, definitely it looks like we're going to see some title changes over in Stardom. Lots of new things happening. A lot of new people being given the ball. And so, for some it's scary, but for a lot of people, I take it as an opportunity, and I think it's going to be exciting. Lyric got a Jun Saito match to watch. I absolutely do. I do. Also, for those just really brief, for those of you who watch All Japan, a lot of people have been making their predictions, right? And so Rei Saito finished third. I was not expecting that of people expected to win Champion Carnival. Did not expect that at all. Happy though, but did not expect it at all. But I digress. You know what? I've been talking completely by myself. My mouth is incredibly dry, and I can't believe that I've done this for an hour and 11 minutes. Thanks everybody for jumping in on the chat. I am super grateful, really happy. I did not do it. And here's the thing. If I did it, I would tell y'all. I would tell you that I voted for Ray Saito 5,000 times. I would tell you because guess what? One thing I've never been ashamed of is my faves. Like, if I put in 5,000 votes, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'll be honest. I didn't really know about the poll until it was too late. So if I would have. I do have a co-host. My co-host is Dani Livingston. She's actually really awesome, aka Black Girl Wrestling, also known as at Dani Don't Miss. And I actually have a podcast coming out with her tomorrow. She came on Maps and Graps, my podcast, and we did a Windy City Riot review show, and so that is actually dropping tomorrow. We already recorded it yesterday, but my co-host is actually at Dynamite right now. So she was there in person because she's from Indiana. So that's obviously where Dynamite was today. So yes, I do have a co-host. She will be back next week, and it's going to be fun to have her back. But I do appreciate everybody who listened to me ramble that I was all by my ramble by myself. So yeah, so like I said, podcast coming out tomorrow. Of course, I'll be live tweeting Dynasty. Will I be doing a Dynasty review show? Unsure yet. I will probably be doing a Dynasty review show definitely on my personal podcast, Maps and Graps. Not sure if we're gonna do something official through BodySlam, but I'm definitely already have been planning to do like on my own personal podcast episode review about Dynasty. Absolutely. So stay on one. We're gonna get Lyric on One Nation Radio too. I would love to go on One Nation Radio. Rich Lott is my guy. So if I ever get the invite, I'm happy to join. Yeah, so but thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on the Twitters at Lyric Wrestling, and on Instagram as well, and you can subscribe on YouTube, just my first and last name at Lyric Swinton. Thank you everybody. And also like I said, Dani has some news she's gonna share. You guys are gonna find out probably definitely by Sunday. Super exciting stuff for her and Black Girl Wrestling. And so I'm super excited. We're going to get you on there to address your enemies. Listen, for me to address my enemies have to finally address me first. Except, and nobody ever does. A lot of talking about, but never any talking to. You truly hate to see it. So there's that. But thank you, everybody. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.